The 9 to 5 doesn't feel so 9 to 5-ish anymore, does it? That's because those end caps, 9 a.m., 5 p.m., they feel like blurred lines, right? Some of us, we're logging the extra hours just to get through our entire to-do list for the day, right? Others, we take a second job because we choose to. Others still, though, we're cobbling together a couple different jobs just to make a living. It sort of gives me 90s vibes, right? Back then, having more than one job, we called that moonlighting. Today, the fancy terms we like to use are gig work or having a side hustle, contract work or freelancing. It's basically remaking a familiar trend, right? This time is different. And I believe that so much so that I've been forced to reconsider my own approach to work. And it's because I see all the evidence stacking up that these new ways of work, they're having a ripple effect that are going to impact everybody. Heck, it might just change the way we work entirely. Back when people were moonlighting, they were working for another company, on their time, for their pay, under their rules. Well, these new ways of work, they're putting more power into the hands of the individual. You determine when you work. You have more say on how much you make. You're the boss. You could say that these new ways of work, they've created a gateway to a new frontier of work. One that gives us permission to use our imagination, to dream, to discover, to invent new ways of work. It's giving us permission to take ownership of our careers, whether inside an organization or independently. It's giving us choice. See, we're living through a real-time evolution of work, one that has staying power. And you know why it has staying power? Because it benefits everybody, from the individual, their family, their community, to their boss, the company they work for, or its shareholders. It's an evolution, not a revolution. But I'll tell you, like in any good evolution, the status quo is in question. And the one we're questioning here is the stagnant and antiquated systems that we have long trusted as the path to success, which is to say that the old rules no longer apply. New rules must be created. They're being created already by individuals and companies. This time is different. The question is, will you take the opportunity to create new ways of work that work for you or others? Or will you continue to consume the corporate ladders that are being created for you by others? Think about that for a minute. Imagine, what would it mean to you? What would it feel like if there was nothing holding you back from creating your dream work situation? Let it simmer. Technology has a way of evolving that, well, we as humans, we just accept it. It's familiar to us. We expect it. Technology is always changing. You know what else changes? We do. And so do the companies that we work for. It's just that people and companies have historically changed slow enough to not create too much disruption, right? Well, I'm starting to wonder, have both changed significantly, so significantly on their own, that when they come together in the four walls of the workplace, it feels a little chaotic? Let me explain. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? I'm not. Well, neither are our behaviors and preferences at work. If we travel back in time just 10 years to look at what work looked like then, you know what we would see? Work and life, they more or less balanced each other out. If you were job hopping, that was a big no-no on your resume. And talking about work on social media, well, that rarely happened. We trusted the system to provide us with work opportunities. So much so that back then, only 15% of us knew somebody that worked on a contractual basis. That's according to MBO partners. Fast forward to today, well, work-life balance is something we worry a lot about. It's just as important to us almost as our paycheck. And job hopping, if you're doing that, well, congratulations, you are considered to be opportunistic. And if you talk about job or work on the internet, that's kind of normal. Anyone on LinkedIn in here? Right? We've experienced 2 recessions in the last 15 years. And so our trust in the system is colored by the fact that most of us know somebody older than us and younger than us, or ourselves, that have been laid off. So now we know 41% of us know somebody that works on a contractual basis. We basically reimagined work in the last 10 years is what that tells me, right? This time is different. And we're finding our changed selves converging with a changing corporate landscape. It's no secret at all that business models, they're under construction, right? If this room was filled with CEOs, do you know that almost every single one of them would tell us that they expect their business model to change in the next 3 years? 98% of CEOs would say that, according to AlixPartners. Some of us probably already feel it in the places that we work because corporations, they have gotten flatter. There's a heck of a lot less managers and we are all doers, right? Well, layoffs, they've become a proactive business strategy rather than a reactive one. An example of this is Zoom. They laid off a handful, small portion of their employees, but the announcement said that they were rescoping jobs to add capabilities. That's not really something you say in your standard cost-cutting initiatives. That rescoping term, it caught my attention because it at least suggests that there will be moving some employees into new roles. And the thing about Zoom, though, it's a young company. It's only 12 years old, but yet they're already changing their business model and the way they utilize their talent. Think about that. It's an evolution, not a revolution. Jobs are disappearing because our skills are depreciating faster than ever. Almost 25% of jobs that exist today are expected to be eliminated within the next 5 years. Of course, new jobs will emerge from new industries that will offset a lot of this. But my point here is that the demand for jobs is changing ever so quickly. This time is different. The status quo is in question. But the ironic part about it is it's happening just at a time when we are all getting a lot more comfortable with change and instability in the way that we work. I know you might be starting to think about your friend, your family member, that old coworker that has their little side business that they started. It's doing pretty good. That's part of this, but it's bigger than that. People are getting creative with the way they think about work these days. I have a couple of examples of this in my own life, which, by the way, I couldn't have said 10 years ago. My friend Alex, she's a nurse. She splits her 40-hour work week 50-50 with another nurse so that she can spend time caring for her elderly mother. I've got a girl, Grace. She's a chief marketing officer. She spends 20 hours a week working with one company, 25 hours a week working with another company. She does it so she can have control over her time. She calls herself a fractional chief marketing officer. My pal, Jim, well, he was working on a side project for his boss. He turned it into a full-time gig. He basically created his own job at the company he works for. This is what the early days of a new frontier look like. People are inventing new ways of work. They're testing, they're learning. If it doesn't work, they try again. People are choosing to work differently. This time is different. Sort of reminds me of a technology, the evolution of a technology. Work is an evolution. We just really haven't acknowledged it like that before. But remember though, we've been given permission to see new paths to success. We don't have to be stuck on this staircase here. Gig work, side hustles, freelancing. It's created a gateway or a new doorway to see new possibilities. So I'll ask you one last time. What if there was nothing standing in your way from creating your dream work situation? What would the door that you draw on a blank slate with the power of the pen look like? People are changing, companies are changing, work is changing. It's an evolution, not a revolution. And it all starts with opening our minds, using our imagination to realize that we have ownership over our careers, whether it's inside an organization or otherwise. A career is not something that you find. It is something that you create. Thank you.